Sketch Color Campus, a high level conversation, and we back with part 2 of this episode. I haven't double dipped in about 3-4 seasons, man. You're a special person for that, man. And I got a special guest with me tonight. It's my man, attorney Christian Wisesmith. He's been on the show before, y'all probably remember, but this time he's back and he's running for Fulton County District Attorney again, which is going to be a lofty task. I'm sure we're going to, yeah, we got to get into all that because the person you're running against right now is worldwide famous.
No doubt, no doubt.
So, Christian, thank you for coming by tonight.
Man, first of all, thank you for having me. Congratulations on all of your success. I mean, to have your own magazine, man, that's dope.
So, I appreciate that, man.
You know, appreciate you for blessing me with a copy, man. And anytime I can come by and talk to you, man, and figure out how we can build and work together, man, I'm always here. So thank you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you chopping by because you're here tonight because, you know, you're part of the primary. Yeah. And we get to talk about something very important to my life, which is local politics.
Yes, sir.
And so one of the things, like I just mentioned, where you're running for Fulton County District Attorney. For those who don't know, or those who probably know, when you hear the name Fulton County, when you hear the title Fulton County District Attorney, you think of the person right now who is prosecuting Donald Trump, right, who's prosecuting Young Thug, who's made her name, like her name is definitely famous, and that's Fannie Willis. First question, man, what made you want to run again and throw your hat in the ring for Fulton County District Attorney?
I really want the job, man. Like the criminal justice system is personal for me because I grew up in it.
Yes.
And I think it uniquely situates me, or it's uniquely prepared me more than I would say any other attorney. And to see where that office is headed right now, like you mentioned, the Donald Trump case, that's a big case. And to see that it may be in jeopardy of being lost, you know, my thought process was one, you know, how I care about the criminal justice system and how I want to just see it transform and do better. But then two, part of me was worried that, you know, if the worst case scenario played out and she ended up getting removed from the case or removed from office, then Governor Kemp might appoint a Republican to lead that office, where we haven't had a Republican leading that office in, I mean, at least 30 years, if not longer.
And you talk about something that definitely would have affected that case. And I hate to make it seem political because then Donald Trump's going to run this clip on one of his commercials saying, see, I told you. But if you put somebody there who is a Republican, there's a good chance it's going to impact that case in some way, shape, or form.
But it's beyond the case, man. It's about Fulton County, right? Yes. Fulton County is 70% Democrat. You know, Atlanta sits in Fulton County, which is the mecca or the hub for, you know, Black success and Black excellence. And, you know, just because of the population that we have here, I think you need somebody who understands the culture and understands, you know, what our people need to be safe and to thrive leading that kind of office versus somebody maybe not so familiar with the culture or maybe not from an environment like a lot of our people come from. You know, I think we would be in trouble if we saw that happen, where I think you would see, you know, mass incarceration starting to creep up again. Yeah. And I was really worried about that. And that was one of the main reasons I said, you know what, I need to step up and run for this race.
Yeah, so why do you feel like you're qualified to take this position from Fannie?
We really need to prioritize the resources in that office to keep us all safe, right? To focus on Fulton County families, to focus on our kids by really putting a dent in the school-to-prison pipeline and not making it just about the high-profile cases. When you put so much manpower and money and resources in cases like that, it leaves everything else hanging. It puts all of our safety in jeopardy. And so, you know, one of the biggest things that I want to do is focus on victim-centered prosecution, meaning, you know, drug possession, whether it be cannabis or any other kind of drug, if it's a nonviolent crime, if we partner with community resource providers on those type of issues, right? Like if somebody is dealing with a substance addiction or a mental health disability or homelessness, whatever it may be, if we partner with the folks who can help them shift out of that lifestyle with, you know, whatever kind of mental health treatment they need, or if it's job training or whatever kind of education, right, to help them be able to obtain their own opportunities, then that's less manpower on the DA's office, right? There's less ADAs on it, less money going into it because we're partnering with outside folks. Now the DA, right, whose primary job is to keep us safe, you can put more folks and energy and money and manpower on the car break-ins, the shootings, the violent crimes, right?
Yeah.
When we go pump gas late at night, like you, my wife, you know, ladies, we know they want to feel safe. When you out moving, having fun, right? You don't want to worry about going out to eat and coming out and your car's been broken into, right? So those kind of shifts need to happen, and that played into my decision on wanting to run.
That's awesome, man. I don't want to just talk primarily about why you feel like you're qualified. Fanny's she's done a good job while she's here. What do you feel like is some of the positive that she has done since she's taken over the position?
I mean, she's definitely shown that she's fearless, right?
Yes.
You know, taking on a case like Trump, even taking on a YSL case, right? That she showed her fearlessness in that. And I don't have anything bad at all to say about Fanny. Yeah. Like, me jumping in this race is not a personal attack on her. You know, I really hate for her that her private life became so public. Yes. That's nobody wants to go through that, right? Like, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So it's not about her at all, me being here. It's all about the job for me. And it's all about us in Fulton County. It's about younger energy. It's about fresh ideas and trying some things that haven't been done before. Is what the definition of insanity is, to keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I think what we've seen over the past 25 plus years, from the prior DA to this one, is the same kind of mentality, the same thought process, and the same way of thinking and how they attack crime. And it's time for something different. It's time to change the face of that.
It's definitely time for something different, man. How would you tackle the cases that she's currently tackling, the Trump case and the YSL case? I know you had mentioned this a lot. It's definitely a lot of resources being poured in because these cases have been drawn out for so long. Is there a way that you would have tackled it that, say, would have been slightly different from how Fanny has tackled it?
I mean, I won't say too much about them because they're both active cases, right? And
yeah.
I don't want to do anything that someone can say is potentially tainting a jury. But I'm a lot different than her, right? So
yeah.
I think my approach on everything is a lot different than hers is. And, I will go so far as to say in the YSL case, coming up the way I did, seeing my mom in and out of the system, and so many of my family members, my grandmother, have an uncle serving life, and, my mom losing custody of me getting kicked out of high school. Hip hop was a big part of my life, and rap was, the music was an escape. The music was a way to kind of envision myself, doing more. Master P is my ghetto hero, as I say it, because P was really the first person that I saw who came from a place like where I came from, who was a risk taker, yeah. right? I mean, from the music to movies to, trying to make it in the NBA. I think he had like a clothing line at one point. I mean, he was a dreamer, right? And somebody coming from a place like that, a lot of times all we have are hopes and dreams. And so I don't think it's right to use lyrics in prosecutions. And, it reminds me, talking about P, Mac from No Limit Records, was sentenced to 30 years back in the 90s on a homicide case where there was no physical evidence at all, like zero physical evidence. They didn't even have a murder weapon, no DNA, none of that. But they had his rap lyrics. He had a song, Murder, Murder, Kill, Kill, and that was one of the things the prosecution used in successfully convicting him. And, I think that's dangerous, and you only see it in our culture. It's been over 500 prosecutions across the U.S. where rap lyrics against black men were used in their trials. Mm-hmm. You don't see it in country music or jazz music. You don't see it with movies, right? Hov or Jay-Z has a line in one of their songs where Scarface, the movie, did more to me than Scarface the rapper,
yes.
right? So you don't see that being done with the creative arts on the film side. Yeah. So why is it only being done in a space, primarily occupied by black men? Yeah. And I think we need to, end that.
So one of the there's plenty of hurdles you're gonna have to jump in order to win this case. And I think one of the hurdles, and I'd love to talk about this, is the fact that you're actually from Cincinnati. You're not a native Atlantean. And I feel like, when it comes to Atlanta, they lean a lot more towards voting for people who they went to high school with, who was from their neighborhood, people who they have those kind of ties. How do you feel like you could kind of avoid that situation and still catch enough people in the city of Atlanta to say, I'm going to vote for Christian Wisesmith?
Because one, I think I've done enough work in a community in Atlanta where folks know me for doing the work, right? Like folks have embraced me, taken me under their wing from, folks in the music industry, folks in the streets. Me and Parlay from Franchise Boys, we led the first ever peaceful protest down Bankhead 4 years ago. And then, the West Side community in Bankhead, they really embraced me because of that, because a lot of folks who run for office are scared to go to places like that, or they ignore people from places like that. Yeah. And so, I'm from Cincinnati, but, you from the hood. In one city, it's the same as hoods. In other cities, you know how to move, you know how the politics work. And so I just go and I show people love. I'm always myself, right? I don't pretend to be somebody that I'm not. I don't switch up who I am to run for office. A lot of times people tell me, like, well, you're too nice to run for these offices that you're running for. And I'm like, but why I got to be a jerk to run for, you know what I mean?
Let's bring that back. Let's bring back just having common sense and being a decent human being. Like, why do I gotta drop to the dirt in order to be recognized in this conversations like this now?
It's like, when or why did politics become like, how much dirt can I dig up on you? Yeah. Or how bad can I talk about you? Like, I come from the mentality of I don't have to put anybody down for me to lift myself up. Yeah. I want to lift other people up with me. And, part of me wanting to jump in the political space too is to show people from places like I'm from that we are qualified and capable and smart enough and good enough to run for political offices, because for so long we've been conditioned to think that we're not, right? Think about how hard we had to fight just to get the right to vote. And then it was like, okay, once we got that, it was like, well, you can't run for office though. So then that was the next hurdle, right? Is breaking that mindset that we, aren't qualified to do it. And so, me not being from here, people know that. I don't hide it. But I think I've been embraced by Atlanta because of the work that I've done and just showing love, man. It's all about showing love. You show love, people show love back.
Yeah, and shout out to Parlay. The first time I heard about you was I think you was on Parlay's show, and I was watching you speak about the protest y'all did down Bankhead. So shout out to him, man.
That's my dog.
One thing also I know that you are open to speak about is cannabis. Yeah. And one thing I feel like, and I think we both agree on this point, is decriminalizing cannabis in this city was a great step forward. Shout out to Kwanzaa Hall for even presenting that option to us. But what hasn't happened, and I don't think it's happened in any county where it's decriminalized, is to educate people on how you can actually still get prosecuted for this. Because what's legal locally and what's legal on a statewide level are two different things. Yep. So when you do get elected, like, how would you tackle that conversation as far as trying to educate the community, especially being that we do have such a vibrant cannabis community in this city, despite the fact we're not legal? How would you educate some of those users about what the real possibilities of you getting caught with this are?
I think it starts with, you mentioned it, conversations, right? Like having a DA who is visible and engaged and active, and like everything I just said about me being from Cincinnati but being embraced here, it's the same thing, right? Is you just gotta let folks know, right? You can't try to hide the information from people and then bamboozle or just try to have those gotcha moments, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that was one of the things that wasn't done well when the city of Atlanta decriminalized. Yeah. Like there wasn't enough education or conversation about like, yeah, we're decriminalizing, the Atlanta city ordinance, but the state law is still on the books. Mm-hmm. And I love that we have so many municipalities starting to decriminalize, but again, it's that second piece that people need to be made aware of. Because I would get questions all the time, like, yo, I got arrested and I only had less than an ounce. Like, I thought it was legal now. Mm-hmm. And then you have to explain to people, like, APD, I don't think they've ever arrested or cited people under Atlanta City Code. There's always state law, OCGA Section 6 or Chapter 16. So yeah, I think the biggest hurdle or the biggest missing piece is just letting folks know, like, it's still illegal under state law. Less than an ounce is up to $1,000 fine, up to 12 months in jail, and then obviously if you have more than an ounce, it becomes a felony at that point.
Yeah, and that's crazy because I remember again when Kwanzaa came on the show and he announced that he wanted to introduce that to city council. It was a big thing when he did that on the podcast. Yeah. But one thing I didn't like was, like you mentioned, after it rolled out, I felt like there was absolutely no conversation behind it. Like it kind of got swept in the middle of him running for mayor with a ton of other people. So I appreciate you being that open that, it's about a conversation, that we have people who are so still confused about what this is. Like, there's some people I know who they don't know I'm in cannabis, but they have full conversations with me sometimes. They'll be like, so weed's legal in Georgia. And I'm like, exactly. And I'm like, where, bro? Like that's how confused people
that's
literally
dangerous.
are. Yeah, it's dangerous. Just because you could buy it somewhere and just because you feel like nobody's prosecuting for it because they see you smoking in public does not mean it's legal, dog. Know the actual laws of the place that you are in so you can function properly.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So I know one time we was talking about your work with Blacklist, and I thought that was so interesting. I was like, first off, how did you get involved with Blacklist, man?
So, cool story. So first, let me preface it by saying this: like, I don't drink or smoke.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned, the criminal justice system being so personal to me, my mom she'll outsmoke you, right?
I believe her.
She'll outsmoke everybody in this room.
Yeah, I believe that.
And just growing up in a family where that was the norm, right? And having cousins and uncles and everybody who will partake it, is also how some of them made their living. It's always been a part of my life, even though I chose not to use it. But with the Blacklist, one of my friends just put me onto their page on IG and said, "Hey man, I think you'd be interested in the content that they put out because it's a lot about what you're talking about and what you're passionate about on the law side." And I followed the page and saw some of their content. It's like their own like news network in a sense. I just shot a DM and said, "Hey, dope content." And then they hit me back like, "Yo, I know who you are. Would love to collab with you. Would you by any chance be in Vegas right now for the MJ BizCon was happening?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not. I'm actually in Vegas, yeah, but not for that. It was my anniversary."
I remember, you was in Vegas.
You were out there,
we was there, but you wasn't here for that. You was there for like family reasons.
It was my anniversary, so. So yeah, they were like, I would love to, just steal you away for maybe breakfast if you can. We could talk about some things we can collab on. And it was like a movie because it's an anonymous page, and I'm like, is this a setup? Or I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what they look like. They know what I look like.
I think you're about to ask me to buy some gift cards.
But so I go, and the meeting's dope. Conversation is dope, and the conversation really centered on this idea that they have for wanting to do some work in a nonprofit space where we help folks who have been, arrested or incarcerated in places where it's illegal, and we help fundraise to put up their legal defense. And then taking it a step further, helping the lobby for legalization. Yeah. So I'm like, those two things that I'm super passionate about, like, let's get it, let's start working. Yeah. And then, just building that relationship with them. And then that's what played into me going out for exhibit. And just, I'm new to the cannabis space in terms of, the level that you're in it and meeting, meeting the players and understanding the culture a little bit more. My background was really only from the criminal justice standpoint or side of it, being a prosecutor for 7 years. But, working with, the folks on your side of things, man, we can accomplish a lot, man. And that's one of the things that I want to do as DA is really work with the cannabis community on saying, this is how we're going to handle it in the office, which is, no incarceration. Like if folks, like I mentioned earlier, if folks need some kind of treatment or whatever it is, cool. But I think we know most people, just cannabis consumers, don't need treatment. Yeah. But it's, I also can't go so far as to say I won't prosecute it because Kemp and, I want to say the state session, they just brought back the oversight council over prosecutors, right, where you can be removed from office if they find that you aren't prosecuting the laws the way that you're supposed to. But that's one of the safe havens that prosecutors have, and having prosecutorial discretion, having the ability to do diversion programs and things like that. We can accomplish a lot in the cannabis space together. Yeah. So I look forward to winning this race and then linking up in community with the cannabis folks here in Atlanta.
Yeah, man.
And, just creating a movement that we can hopefully get some laws changed across the South.
Bro, I'd love to help you, man, introduce you to some good people, because local races are important to me because I know how few votes it takes for somebody actually to win. Yeah. And when we see how many people speak, like even when I see people now speak openly about the Trump and Biden situation, I often would just want to jump in their comments and be like, "Are you registered to vote though?" Like, you know what I mean? How many people be having full conversations about what's not going to happen, what they know is going to happen, but have you registered? You know, like you've actually passed some dates. Like, you know, there's some crucial times you have missed if you were even going to register in Georgia. Like, where are you at with this, man? Before you have these conversations. So local politics is definitely a passion of mine. So yeah, I'd love to help you out with that, man. Plug you into some folks and maybe help energize this community again. Similar to how it was when Kwanzaa ran. Like people really got behind him based on what he was talking about, especially this community. I remember him reaching out to several people who were in that space. And yeah, I'd love to see that happen all over again.
Let's do it. Thank you.
Yeah. What was it like going out to the West Coast for Exhibit Store? I know you caught contact, like everybody was smoking out there.
No, it was a great experience, man. And to see the culture in California compared to the culture here it was phenomenal, man. And what really blew my mind was, you know, I'm in this store where it's legal and this is how somebody makes a living, and he's providing jobs for people, right? And other people can provide for their families. But when I fly back home here, it's people sitting in prison for it. Yeah. Like that was on my mind the entire time there. It was like I saw this thriving, not just business community, where folks were making money, but it's like a new ecosystem,
a real
right?
economy. Yeah, I felt like that when I just left Boston. I was like, yo, I'm watching a real cannabis economy, and then you come back to Atlanta, it's like pop-ups. It's like people locked up. It's so wild to see that.
So that was the biggest thing that blew my mind. It was amazing to have the opportunity to have a conversation with him, just learn a little bit about what they were doing, and hopefully at some point we can start doing that here in the South. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how soon or how long it's going to be before we get, legalized here in Georgia. I hope soon. I hope once I get in office, or even if I don't get in office, right? Like whatever platform I get, I'm always going to push for, legalization or decriminalization. And, we need to deschedule on a federal level. So that's an issue too,
That was going to be my next question for you, matter of fact, where you stood on that, because right now, there's a lot of people in cannabis that kind of I see like it's a 50-50 situation. Like some people are still open for rescheduling because at least it's a foot in the door. Like it's opening the door for banking. It's opening the door for some things that are crucial for dispensary owners, especially to stay afloat and be able to make money and be able to generate money. But also on another end, you really need to, there's people who will scream all day, you really need to federally decriminalize in order to really open the door for people for real. So where do you stand on that, man? Are you a pro rescheduling, or are you for a full decriminalization on a federal level when it comes to cannabis?
100% decrim, 100% deschedule. Because one of the things too about running your own business, right, is the taxes, right?
Yeah.
Either you're going to owe a bunch of money in taxes, or the tax benefits and breaks that you can get, and folks in the cannabis space can't because it's not federally decriminalized. So, that's another piece of it too, what that tax revenue or the tax breaks can do for people and communities. And then too, just like the historical component of the convictions, man. The convictions on folks' records, folks not being able to obtain jobs, education, even housing in a lot of instances, because if you got a marijuana or cannabis conviction on your record, then it's a wrap. So we need to not only decriminalize, but then we need to issue pardons for everybody who's had, I would say, a non-violent conviction dealing with cannabis on their record.
Yeah, so I assume, so you're pro expungement even when it comes to Fulton County as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's something I want to see happening. A lot more expungement clinics happen because, there's too many people who are still sitting in jail for petty cannabis charges. I mean, if we're not talking about something that's high federal criminal levels, then why are we having this conversation why this person's locked up other than it's a cash grab for the city?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And can I tell you a story? I can't remember if I told this the first time I came on the show. I'll try to make it quick. But my first year as a prosecutor, 2013, got a 17-year-old high school kid arrested for weed. And he comes to court, he's just like, man, I want to plead nolo and get it over with. And I'm like, where you want to be in 10 years? And, he was a little aggressive. His mom's with him. And I could tell that he was probably from a neighborhood like I was from, and he was still trying to figure out who he was. Was he a street guy, tough guy? Was he not that? I could tell he had one foot out. And he said he wanted to play in the NFL. So I'm like, okay, where you got to play first? College. If you got this weed conviction, you can't get a scholarship to play in college. You can't get the federal financial aid. So, having a man-to-man conversation with him, and I go in front of the judge, and on my own, it just came to me. I'm going to make up my own diversion program. Hey, judge, if he does A, B, C, X, Y, Z, I'll throw his case out, bring him back in 30, 60, 90 days, and we'll be done. Kid does everything. I throw it out. 2014, I'm sitting in my office checking emails. His mom emails me. And I don't know if you remember me, but thank you for giving my son a chance. He's at a junior college in Oklahoma, doing great in the classroom, great on the field. Broke down crying, man. Like,
that's what we do it for, man. Yeah, like stuff like that. Yeah, that's what you do it for, man. And that's what a good attorney does, do things like that for.
Story gets better, though.
Yeah.
2015, she calls and said, hey, he's transferring to the University of Tennessee. Got a chance to start. 2016, man, you got to come to a game. We wouldn't be here without you. My kids and I went. His senior year, we went to 3 of his games. At Tennessee, they opened up the new Mercedes-Benz here against Tech, and we went to Alabama. It was crazy. They had Tua and Jalen Hurts on the roster at the same time for Bama. But the most important part of the story, 2018, I go up to Tennessee, see him walk across the stage and get his degree in communications. Now, here's where the story gets crazy. When I did that for the kid, my immediate supervisor, supervising attorney, almost fired me for that. It's like, we're not social services, we're prosecutors. Conviction rates are down, fine revenue is down. And that was an easy slam dunk conviction right there that you just let walk out the door. You crazy?
Yeah.
Like, think about the opportunity this kid has now, not only to change his life, but his family, his neighborhood, having that college degree, the new ecosystem he can create, right? The new positive cycles he can create, breaking those negative ones. Man, I'll do it again over and over again, and I would always risk my career for that because now that kid has a chance, right? And his life is so much different, and he's going to help somebody else in his lifetime when he sees them going left and go right. That's how you create change, is doing that. And think about if we did that on a bigger scale. Yeah. Think about if our criminal justice system operated from that standpoint and from that mentality, that thought process, what we could do, right? And think about the alternative, right? He would have had that cannabis conviction on his record, wouldn't have been able to go to college, probably still wouldn't be able to get a job. Ain't no telling what he would be doing because of that conviction he would have had at 17. Now he's in his 20s, thriving with a college degree.
Wow, man. You know what's crazy is how initially, like you said, your boss, how the judicial system sees us as money. Like, that's conviction rates are down, fines are down. That's an easy slam dunk. Not that's a person who is 17 and has his whole life in front of him.
Exactly.
Man, that's such a terrible way to look at stuff, man.
Yeah, man.
So you are you're the good sheep of the family. You know what I'm saying? Your mom smoke. You got a lot of things going on. Do they still look at you as a lawyer and be like, I don't know if we could talk around him?
Nah. It's not that at all, man. Because like I mentioned earlier, like I've never switched up who I am. Like underneath this suit, like I got an arm full of tattoos.
Yeah.
I mean, I go home, like I'm comfortable on Bankhead. I'm comfortable in Buckhead. Just who I am, right? Is you just show love to people, you'll get the love back. And I think that's one of the things about, my family and friends was when I became an attorney, it wasn't like, oh, he thinks he's better than us. It's like, nah, I did this for us. I did this so that we can experience some new things and get in some new circles and learn more so that we can better ourselves. And that's what it's about, man. It's about, like I said, I don't got to put nobody down and lift myself up. I want to bring people up with me. And that's how my family and friends, that's how we look at it.
That's what's up, man. All right, so let us know why you are the best person for this job of Fulton County District Attorney.
I want to be the best DA that this state has ever seen. I want our criminal justice system in Fulton County to be the safest in the country. I'm the best person for this job because this job has never seen somebody like me. This job has never had somebody in that office who comes from the neighborhoods and the streets and the communities that they prosecute every day. I'm the best person for this job because young black men who I would say are committing a big chunk of the crimes in our county, they need to see somebody who looks like them in there who wants to show them love and help them change their lives for the better. Right now, I'm not saying it's going to be a free-for-all on crime. I'm not saying that I'm soft on crime. You kill somebody, shoot somebody, mess with a little kid or violate a woman. Like, yeah, you need to go sit down. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times we make mistakes, and like we were just talking about with the 17-year-old kid, the whole life is thrown away. instead of trying to create opportunities for them to break out of that. So I've partnered with one of my friends, DeAndre Wynn. He owns a company called Twice as Nice. It's an AV company. They do like the big screens in theaters and people's homes, where he's willing to partner with us where, you know, we come into contact with younger folks, nonviolent offenses. Instead of them being on probation or traditional kind of diversion program, they go get trained by him on how to do that job. He pays them. They finish the diversion program. We dismiss their case. He offers them a full-time job, right? Think about if we get more business owners and the business community to buy in on a level like that, what we can do in this county, man. And we know that Atlanta influences everything. If we do it here first, we'll get other places to follow suit. And that's how we create something historic, right? That's how we empower us instead of just letting the system keep abusing us and beating us down. Like, let's put one of us that's been through that already. I've been through the abuse and been beat down and broken down by the system and had everything taken away from me, right? Like, you're not going to talk to another lawyer or another person who's a prosecutor who can say they know what it's like to see your mom being taken away from you in front of you in handcuffs and your grandmother. I watched both of them do that, right? Or what it's like for your mom to lose custody of you, right? Right? So that's what makes me so passionate about this. I ain't doing this for clout. I ain't doing this for likes on social media. I'm not doing this to elevate myself to a higher office. I'm doing this because I was built for this. I feel like all of that hell that I went through growing up, God was preparing me for a moment like this to say, you know what? If you want to break that definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, you are what's different. If we keep electing the same people over and over and expecting them to do different things for our community, we are insane. We need to do something different. It's time to wise up. Let's go.
Hey, bro. Appreciate you coming through tonight, Christian. You definitely have my support, and that's something I don't throw around a whole lot, but you definitely have my support. Hopefully we see you become Fulton County District Attorney, but if not, I know you're still going to be a prominent voice in our community.
Absolutely.
And keep helping these brothers and sisters stay on the right path.
I ain't going nowhere. I'm here.
All right, thank you so much for coming through. And that's Cash Color Campus, a high level of conversation on LiveHipHopDaily.tv. Man, that story was